All right, today we're diving into a true veteran of the programming world, Java. We're talking about a language that has powered just about everything, from the Android apps in your pocket to massive corporate systems.
And get this, it's turning 30 years old. In the tech world, that is basically an eternity, which, brings up a really important question for anyone in this space.
With the web moving at light speed, has Java actually kept up? Is it still a major player for modern web development, or is it, a dinosaur? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get on the same page about what a web app even is. Then we'll dig into why you'd still choose Java today, see what it takes to build one, and check out the modern tools of the trade before we give our final verdict.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can even talk about where Java fits in, we need to have a solid understanding of what a modern web application actually is.
So put simply, it's any piece of software you use right inside your web browser. Think about your daily go-tos, like Gmail or Google Maps. You don't install them on your computer, right? You just go to the website, and it works. That's the magic of a web app.
But here's where it gets interesting. You've got static sites, which are kind of like a digital brochure. The content is fixed. And then you have dynamic apps, which are interactive. They change based on what you do. We're talking e-commerce sites, streaming services, online banking. And that world, the one with all the complex behind-the-scenes logic, that's where a powerhouse language like Java has built its empire.
So how does all this work? Well, it's basically a conversation. Your browser, which we call the client, sends a request out to a server asking for something. The server figures out what to do and sends a response back. That simple back and forth is the foundation of the entire web.
And that whole conversation is usually broken down into three main layers. You've got the presentation tier, which is what you see and interact with in your browser, the storage tier, which is the database where all the information lives, and then, sandwiched in the middle, you have the application tier. Think of this as the brains of the operation. It's where all the heavy lifting and business logic happens, and it's exactly where Java code typically lives.
So, with that in mind, let's get to the main event. In a world full of newer, shinier languages like Python, Go, and Rust, why on earth would you still pick this 30-year-old veteran for a brand new web project?
Well, it all goes back to this legendary promise. The idea was simple, but honestly, it was revolutionary. You write your Java code one time, and it will run on any machine that has a Java virtual machine. Doesn't matter if it's Windows, Mac, or Linux. That kind of platform independence is a huge win.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real reason that giants like Uber, Netflix, and Airbnb still rely on Java comes down to this whole checklist. It's not just one feature, it's the whole package. You get rock-solid security that banks trust with their money. You get insane scalability thanks to things like multi-threading, which lets it handle millions of users at once. And maybe most important today, you get this massive, mature ecosystem of libraries and frameworks like Spring that do the heavy lifting for you, so you can focus on building cool stuff instead of reinventing the wheel.
All right, so let's say you're on board with the why. What does it actually look like to build a web app with Java today? What's the playbook?
It pretty much follows this tried-and-true 5-step path, all the way from planning to deployment. But what's really special in the Java world is how mature the tools are at every single stage. When you're setting things up, you're not just grabbing a compiler, you're plugging into incredibly powerful tools and environments. And when you build, you're not starting from zero, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, using frameworks that make everything faster and more reliable.
Right, and you're not building this stuff in a vacuum. Java developers have this enormous toolkit to work with. Let's just take a quick peek at some of the key players.
And this right here is where you can see how Java has stayed so modern. Yeah, the foundations are things like servlets, but today almost everyone uses Spring, a framework that just simplifies everything. For databases, tools like Hibernate mean you barely have to write any raw SQL. But the real game changer? It's Spring Boot. It packages your entire app, server and all, into one file. It turns what used to be a week-long deployment nightmare into a single command. It's that kind of magic that makes Java so productive today.
Okay, we've gone through the what, the why, and the how. So it's time to circle all the way back to that big question we started with and deliver the final verdict.
So has Java kept up? The answer is a resounding yes. When it comes to building the big, complex, data-heavy apps that run the modern world, its core strengths of reliability, scalability, and performance make it more than just relevant, they make it a powerhouse. It hasn't just survived for 30 years. Thanks to its modern ecosystem, it's absolutely thriving.
And that just leaves us with one last thing to think about.
Java proved it could dominate the first era of the web. The real question now is, as we push deeper into a world of AI and cloud-native everything, what will Java's next chapter look like? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.